God hears our prayers, and we ask for many things. Sometimes our ask can be likened to a fairy tale, full of hope, promise, and idealism. We ask for the perfect mate, that someone that makes us feel safe and secure. But in the twinkling of an eye, relationships can change and can shake your very soul. Lord Byron once said, "The heart will break, but broken live on." The days that precede can be dark, devastating, lonely. The area around you seems thick and you can't breathe. Everything seems dark and you can't find a way out. When the foundations in our lives break, everything on top of those supporting structures begins to crumble. Now the savings you never had becomes an issue. The money you had tucked away is now your only sustenance. You're now compromised and the world doesn't feel so safe anymore. If you're lucky, you have a plan, but now the debts are high and you realize you're not in control. The worry, the anxiety soon consume you, and you just want to curl up into a ball and hope it all goes away. But through it all, God knows and sees your suffering. Humility and brokenness before God is His key to dwell in us. Everyone has a story to tell, and today we're going to hear and see what pain looks like and the healing that comes when we ask and acknowledge His presence, that God sees and God answers.
Hi, I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Tabernacle Talks. And we are so excited that we have Dr. Eurita Taylor here, and she's going to be talking about her book and just so many other things about her life that I think will resonate with many people in our audience about just challenges and adversity and all of those things that make us who we are as human beings. And, maybe there are things that have happened in all of our lives that are impactful. And I just want to celebrate Dr. Taylor today because she's actually going to be sharing some of the things in her life that I'm hoping will touch someone in our audience. And I guess probably the easiest question for you is that, first of all, welcome to Tabernacle Talks. And I always have questions, But if you would mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself, that would be very helpful.
Thank you, Dr. Mobley, and thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I was born in Antigua in the Caribbean. A lot of people have heard of Jamaica, but Antigua is a little bit further south. I grew up there with my mom, my three sisters, my two brothers, and my dad. And then I moved to the US. I was a teenager, and I've lived here ever since. I have four boys, Travis, Rich, Kyle, and Ori. Yeah, no daughters. I have my degree in accounting. I went forensic accounting for my master's, and I have my PhD in Christian counseling. And I wrote a book. For my dissertation, I turned it into a book. Hence, here we are. I, I'm excited to be here. Let's say that I'm very excited to be here. A bit nervous though, but I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
That's okay. You have a very compelling story, and you've experienced some significant struggles in your life as a single parent. You talked about four boys. Do you mind discussing how and when things got really tough for you?
Things were always tough for me. And the reason for that is because I carried a lot of emotional baggage around. And looking back, I can see that I can't say that any one point in the relationship was what made it bad for me. It was prior. I experienced sexual abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, and it was never handled. And because it was never handled, and I've never talked about it, I didn't. It happened, and most of it was pushed under the rug. Some of it was never brought up until I wrote my book. It stayed with me. So what it did was I made a lot of bad decisions because of those bags that I was carrying. So when I got married, I expected my husband to be something he couldn't be. And it was hard because here I am filled with all this anger and this frustration because these baggage. And as soon as he said something that reminded me of the past, it got me very angry and I would lash out. And sometimes he used to wonder, okay, who are you today? I didn't even know who I was most days because, like I said, the hurt, the anger, the frustration stayed with me, never dealt with. So I tried to look for love, someone to fill that void that I had. So when he got to the point where he couldn't deal with it anymore and he left, at first I was like, how could you leave me? I'm a good person, you know? Why would you do that? But then it wasn't until I wrote my book, actually the second one, that I realized how much that baggage affected me and made my life tough because it was never dealt with. So I figure had I dealt with that, some of those rough times that I went through, it wouldn't have been as tough.
Now, we all talk about, points in our lives where we hit rock bottom, and, that bottom could be an event or could be a circumstance. When did you find in your life that you had just reached that point where you're like, this is bad?
Most people hit rock bottom once. I hit rock bottom more than once. That's funny. But I will tell you about one. If anyone wants to know about my other rock bottom, they would have to buy the book and find out how that was. But I'll tell you about it one time. My husband had left. And it was, I think, a year later he came back. And when he came back, he thought about, let's make this marriage work. Let's make our family work. I have 3 boys, and let's make our family work and do this thing called life together. I was very excited. I didn't care that he had left me. I didn't care what he did when he left. I just wanted to have him there because that would ease the burden off of me. So I was really excited. Okay, he's back. He found himself a job. I was working. And we were in South Bend, Indiana at this point. Excuse me. And one of his brother was living there and he had returned back to New York. So my husband, we talked about moving back to New York. That's where we met, by the way, in New York. So he talked about moving back, and that was the plan. So then we decided he would go ahead with the 2 younger boys, look for a place, get things sorted out. Then I would move with my other son, the oldest one, and we would be in New York. He was there for some time and he was working. I gave my job notice. I gave the landlord notice. And a week before I was to go, I got the U-Haul ready and I started packing everything up, Then he called me and he said, don't come. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to read a part of it from the book, how this played out.
Okay.
Okay. And this was my second breakdown. The call came. My loving husband, whom I was making all these plans to move to New York to be with, so that we can finally make a go at the right kind of marriage. That same husband told me not to come. I thought I misunderstood him. So I waited a few days and we talked, and he said the same thing. I do not want you to come. The pain that shot through me was worse than childbirth. I literally wanted to kill him. I cursed his entire family. I cursed myself. I cursed the God who made him and the woman who birthed him. I cursed my mom for not loving me and making me believe a weak man and I cursed my mom for not loving me and for making me believe in a weak man and thinking that he could love me. I cursed everything and everyone. Once again, I wanted to die. I told my doctor to go ahead and kill me. So he called a shrink and I went back to the hospital. I cursed them too. I refused to eat, drink, and take the pills or anything they tried to give me. I woke up every day to curse the fact that I woke up. I thought how weak I was. I couldn't even take a drink, smoke, or do drugs to numb the pain. I was so feeble and powerless. I felt so worthless, ugly, and shameful, like I was nothing. I remember telling Carl that he better thank God he was in New York or else I would be in jail for murder. I cried for days. Then I stopped crying and my life began. No job, no home, and young ones to take care of. I did the only thing I could. I put my things in storage, and my son and I went to the homeless shelter. That was one of the worst points of my life.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I guess I have to ask you the anger. You can feel the pain and you can feel the anger that you must have felt in terms of being abandoned. That's interesting that who did you blame for that situation? Who in that moment of just
I
anger?
blamed everyone. I blamed everyone. I blamed my dad for not protecting his daughter. I blamed my mom because situations happened in my childhood that she just shoved under the rug. I blamed my mother-in-law, my father-in-law for protecting my husband. I blamed him. I just blamed everybody I could. I was so angry. I never one time stopped. And like I said a few minutes ago, I never dealt with the things that happened to me as a child, as a young girl growing up. I never dealt with it. So it was easier to blame everybody for my mistakes. And I did. I honestly did. Had I dealt with the things that I experienced as a little girl growing up, I'm not saying I wouldn't make mistakes, but I would have been able to handle things a little bit differently. I was an emotional basket case walking around. And like I said, I blamed everyone. I blamed God a lot. And when I left Antigua, I left God behind because I kept asking, I grew up in church. I used to go to church every Sunday. I played Mary in the concert, Christmas concert. I was Elizabeth, if not Mary, Mary's cousin. How could you allow these things to happen to me? And I blame God. And when I came to the US, I stopped praying. I stopped going to church. I just like left God in Antigua because it was like, how could you let this happen to me? Yeah.
God found you at that lowest point. He was always there. When did you realize he never left, that he was always there?
I went and got my PhD when I wrote my dissertation. And when I wrote my story, because my book is the product from my dissertation, I should say, because
Okay.
it had more information to it, of course. When I wrote my dissertation and I started to write down the things that I experienced in life, I had to read it many times. And as I was reading it, I said, my God, I should have been dead. I should have been dead a long time ago. I looked at it and I said, how did I make it? I used to think that anger was what fueled me to make it. People ask me all the time, how do you make it? I used to be like, anger. I used anger as my weapon and I fueled my way through life and I made it. But then when I wrote it down, it was in black and white, I realized anger had nothing to do with it. Anger just made me push people aside. But what allowed me to make it was God, because sometimes I had no money. And when you read my book and realize the sacrifice I made, for instance, going without something to eat so my boys could have, God kept me. Where do you hear of someone, no breakfast, no lunch, sometimes no dinner, so the boys can eat? And my stomach got so messed up at one point, doctor said also, and be able to get up and take the boys to school and go to work, still have energy to do that. God kept me. There's no way I should be here sitting telling my story right now. The stuff that I went through a week after I had my son, I'm outside shoveling snow. Yeah, God was with me for sure. Yeah.
Do you mind sharing some of the strategies that you use? I know you talked about just financially, things were extremely difficult. Do you mind sharing with the audience, if you don't mind me asking, what that looked like and what you had to do financially to address just the overwhelming challenge that you had raising 4 boys?
I started saving money with food stamps. I know a lot of people, when they think of saving, they think money. I had a budget, but I wasn't planning. I couldn't start with saving a $20 or $50 like most people would, because I wasn't getting any financial help from anyone. So I had to work with what I have. So what I did was I would get the newspaper from Myers, Martin's, and Kroger's, and I would attack it on Mondays because Martin's newspaper come out on Mondays. So I would have them on my dinner table. I'm looking to see the items that I need and if they're on sale. So let's say, for instance, I needed to buy ragu sauce. Ragu is on sale at Kroger's, and I look for my coupon. Most of the times, if I don't have a coupon, I'm not cooking ragu because I want to utilize a coupon. So I would grab my coupon and then I would take it to Myers, because Myers would add match the prices in those days up to $1. They have times where they would double the dollar. So that means I'm spending less food stamps. Now, at the end of the month, I would have more food stamps rolling over. Most of the people that I know, 2 weeks after getting food stamps, they don't have any. I have it roll over. So what I started to do was I had my neighbors save me coupons. So instead of buying one ragu sauce, I'm now buying sometimes 6 bottles. So I'm buying them when they're on sale and I have a coupon. And that savings from that food stamps now would roll over. Because then before I started doing that, whatever happened was I would be spending cash money on food. But I need that cash money to pay bills and do everything else. So when I started to use my food stamps that way, I didn't have to spend cash money on food stamps. Food was covered. Now, once food is covered, that's really good because that frees up my cash. So then now the other items for the house that I need, we use Downy. Downy, most people think, well, okay, you don't have any money, you don't need to buy Downy, you should buy something cheaper. I stick with Downy and Tide and Palmolive and Dawn for a couple of reasons. One, you get a coupon for them. It's like every Sunday religiously, P&G brings out the coupons. And two, they last longer. And they get the stains out of the boys' clothes, those grass stains out of their clothes come out with the Tide, and they last longer rather than me go buy a bottle of detergent, a dishwashing liquid for $1, and you need the whole bottle to wash the dishes, or if I'm doing the laundry, I need more, so it lasts longer. So when I'm getting 6 coupons, before they run out, the items will go on sale again. So I'm never buying anything at regular price. One of the things that my boys would say, they tell their friends all the time is, we always know when chicken is on sale. We always know whenever it's on sale because that's what we eat. I didn't buy my children steak. My thing was chicken goes on sale. I would buy a couple packs of chicken. If fish is not on sale, we're not buying fish. We're not buying pork. If pork is not on sale, we're going to buy chicken. When the others go on sale, that's how I shop. So if it's not on sale, I'm not buying it. And it is even better when I have a coupon. Now, then we have the issue of clothing. With 4 boys, they were growing fast. I shop at Macy's. The reason why I shop at Macy's is because Macy's, when the items are on the way out the door, sometimes I will get something that costs $200 for like $30, $20 right when it's going out the door, but I buy it a size bigger for the next year. Buy shoes at Macy's as opposed to buying shoes at Payless, the shoes at Macy's last longer. And that helps me because the boys were going through clothes and shoes so fast. Plus, when I shop at Macy's, Speedway have the Speedway Mall where you get the points. And I utilize that now. Now, when the boys were younger, you get the points when you shop at Macy's. So then I have the points and I turn around and I use that and purchase Christmas gifts. So I don't spend money on Christmas gifts. These are some of the things that I have done over the years to help me because I didn't always have money. Just because I had extra food stamps, I didn't use that to buy steak. We kept eating the same way. Because then if I stop buying steak now, then what happens is that eats up the excess food stamps, and I don't want to spend cash buying groceries when I need it for the bills. So those are some of the things. Another thing that worked for me was taxes. Most people are spending $200 doing taxes. I was part of the VITA program. That's an IRS program. I used to teach people how to do taxes at that program as a site coordinator. Or you can go there and get your taxes done for free. That's a savings of $200 to get your taxes done. Some people pay even more than that, and you get your taxes done for free. There's other ideas that I have on my website, www.taylorscounselingservices.com. My ebook is out there on finances. There's a lot of useful information in there. But I just want to say one more thing. The vending machines, no, I don't use vending machines. They eat up your money really fast. I go to the store and if I want soda, I buy a case of soda as opposed to spending $2 in the vending machine. I'm buying a soda. Those are things that I know work. They work for me. I'm not making this stuff up as we go along. No, they work. And it will help for someone that has very little to no income to be able to to be able to stock up their house rather than just buy one item. You can then buy six, and then before you know it, you're not buying anything at regular price. And then people will be wondering, how did you do it? Then you could pass on that knowledge to others. One of the things I would like to say to young mothers out there, don't let these men come and eat up your children's food. Now, sometimes we want to be loved. Single mothers, we want to be loved, but sometimes they come and they speak to me and how did you spend your money? They be like, oh, my boyfriend took. No, boyfriend is not to take from you. Boyfriend is supposed to give to you and help you maintain your household. So if you have a boyfriend that's taking from you, that's going to make it harder for you to get away from that poverty. And that's what we all want to do, get away from poverty and be able to live a better life. All of us will not be rich, but we're not put here to struggle the way we do sometimes. So whatever it is that's taken away from you, no matter how much you love the man, he's supposed to be adding to you. The same in reverse. A man might find a woman who's taken away from his kids, because that's the number one thing that a lot of young people are telling me. When I ask how you spending your money, then the boyfriend's name will pop up, the girlfriend's name will pop up. No, you want to give your children the best life that you can. And I want to believe that that's what I've done for my children.
Wow. So just give us an example of what percentage do you think you were saving on your grocery bill once you started really using coupons and buying name brands, because you didn't substitute quality. I hear you say that you got quality items, but you just shopped on sale and you got those things in season, out of season. You were just smart about it. How much were you saving off that grocery bill?
Have you ever watched those shows where those women say sometimes the cashier give their money back?
Yes.
I was one of those. I was one of those women. I would go in the store. I used to get money back. I kid you not. I remember one time I bought oil of Olay. I've always used body wash, and I bought oil of Olay, and I think I bought maybe a dozen, and I paid nothing because I had the coupon, and I just wait till they went on sale, and it was the best thing ever. Oh my God. It was always nice. I've always used Bounty and Charmin and that type of stuff because it's good quality stuff because I have the coupons. I have no problem clipping coupons. My son will tell you, my mom will hold up the line to go in her pocketbook to look for a coupon. I still do. I still do. I download the e-coupons on my card, Kroger's or Myers, whatever, and then the paper coupons, I still clip them because they save me money. The thing about habit, when you develop a habit, it stays with you. This one is a positive one, so it needs to stay with me, and that's what I do. I'm a very patient shopper. I'm a very patient shopper. I don't buy something just because this Macy's have it and I need to have it. I wait until it's on the way out the store and I pay practically nothing for it. I used to work at Macy's in the shoe department, so I know when all the shoes are ready to leave. It's good time, yeah. It's a good time to shop. It's a really good time to shop. But really, I'm very good at saving money, and I try to, pass on that knowledge to others. But you have to be patient while it happens because it won't be something overnight. You have to develop that, and you might not be able to buy two or three. But if you buy one and you clip your coupon, it helps in the long run. It helps. I saw this, excuse me, this quote, and it's in my financial book on the website. A dollar saved is a dollar less borrowed.
Wow.
Yes, and I firmly believe in that. A dollar saved is a dollar less borrowed. There's so many ways we could save.
You use your personal life as a witness, and you've used that as a Christian counselor for others. When you hear of another woman going through this, or even just a friend that's telling you something similar, what do you tell them?
The first thing I try to tell people, and I just learned this like about a month, maybe two ago, I try to tell people, don't look at my story and think that you can go through the same things that I did and you come out the same way, because everybody's story is different. When I said the same things, I'm talking about going to school and then the PhD. No, everybody's story is different. God is with all of us, that's for sure. And whatever his purpose is, we can accomplish our purpose. But don't get up and say, well, okay, I want to do accounting because Dr. Taylor did it, and I'm going to go do my PhD. No, don't follow my line. Just try to find out what your purpose is. Because when you find what your purpose is in life, it makes such a difference. You get up and it's like you have a new lease on life, and you're excited about doing it. And what it is when you take one step, God already took that step and he's with you to take all the other steps. And then life has a different meaning. It all comes together. And I did not realize that until I started writing. I thought, accounting, I make very good money as an accountant. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. I don't have to worry about, I don't have any food in the house anymore. I'm set. But God said, no, it's like he said to me, I invested too much in you. Now you need to give back. And I thought that was a joke. But then when I wrote the book, I realized what he's talking about. My story is very dynamic because he really carried me. He honestly did. When I moved to the US, I didn't move here with my parents. I didn't. When I had my boys, I didn't have my mom around. It was just myself and friends that helped me. And when I do my podcast on my post, and I always talk about the angels that God placed in my life. So what I would tell these people is find your purpose. The angels God will send, he will send them and they will help you just like they helped me. Sometimes we try to follow in a person's footsteps, like we will have a father and he might be a lawyer. I want my son to be a lawyer. Your son is not made to follow in your footsteps. That's why I said, don't nobody say, well, okay, I need to have an accounting degree like Dr. Taylor and get a PhD like her. No, the son might have the talent to be a doctor and he will excel at that. But sometimes we just want people to follow in our footsteps. And that might not be what's meant for them. So I would advise everybody to find what your purpose is. And if you don't know what it is, just talk to God. He will show you. If it's something that you could do, if you're not making money, look into it and it will bring you joy. I promise.
I look at you today, Dr. Taylor, and I know you talked about that angry woman that was blaming everybody, but you certainly have the victory and the joy because you understood that the secret weapon you always had was God and his protection. And I can't say enough. I always have to give my guests the last word. If there's someone in the audience and they're looking at you and they're just like, I'm going through the same thing and she's a doctor and she doesn't know, what would you tell them?
Don't give up. Don't give up. Sometimes life take us a different road than what we intend to. But that's why there is a God, because he knows everything. He knows who we're meant to be. The Bible says he knows every hair on our head. So he knows the things that we don't know. Like I said before, I was going accounting. He said, no, this is the path I want you to go. So I would tell them, don't give up on whatever it is. I did not, and I told a friend of mine the other day, I did not get any of my degrees until after my fourth son. I didn't have them before. I went to school with four children, and sometimes I used to take the baby to class with me because I had no one to watch him. So you can't give up just because you're a mother. I tell people this all the time. Okay, you might be a mother, your sister, your daughter, but that's just a hat that you wear. Who is it God called you to be? And that's what's important. Because guess what? You might be a mother today, tomorrow might not be a mother. That's not who God say you are. It's just a hat that you wear while you're here on earth. But he has a greater purpose for all of us. So don't give up on finding out who you are and what God wants you to be, and follow those, because I promise you victory is at the end of it. And it's hard. It's hard. My life is not easy. It's easier now, but it wasn't easy. And there were times when I wanted to just curl up someplace and die. I thought about death a lot when I was on my own, raising the boys when they were younger. But it, God was, it was always there, because there's always somebody showing up. I had people that would show up, and this one gentleman, he put gas in my car, and I was like, there had to be a God. This is a situation you realize there's a God. In my book, I mentioned this one lady, Miss Louise. She watched my four boys and didn't ask for any money. So when you see situations like that, you can't give up. So my advice would be, don't give up. God will provide. However, he'll be providing. Might be someone to listen to you, someone to cry with you, someone to offer you something to eat. Don't give up, because he wants us to use that will that he gives us. And that's when he step in, and it comes together, and it comes together really beautifully. So don't give up. And it will be hard, but keep going.
Wow. Dr. Taylor, your story, I think, is moving. I think anyone out there who hears the struggle, and not just the struggle, but the triumph. It's the triumph. It lets us all know that there is something so much greater, someone so much greater than all of us. And he's in all of us, and he was in you from the very beginning. And I'm just glad through all that hurt and all that pain and all that difficulty, you pushed through, and you found out that he never left you alone. And I just want to thank you for coming on our show. And I hope that people go out and buy your book and learn more about your story. And hopefully we can have you come back and talk about book number 2.
Yes,
I would love to do that.
Yes. I would
Thank
love
you.
to do that also.
Wonderful. And thank you for coming on today's show. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.